The May meeting of the Suffolk City Board of Zoning Appeals will now come to order. Mr. Skinner, if you'll call the roll, please.
Richard Eslick. Here. Daniel Froman. Peter C. Jackson.
Here.
Melissa Venable.
Present.
Howard Benton.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you for that. Are there any corrections to the minutes of the April meeting? If not, can I have a motion of approval?
Motion to approve.
From Board Member Venerable, can I have a second?
Second.
From Board Member Eslick. Motion and second for approval. All in favor say yes.
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 All opposed say no. Thank you for that. I am not aware of any old business this afternoon. We have 3 public hearings. Public hearings are 30 minutes in length. 10 minutes for proponents, 15 minutes for opponents, 5 minutes for rebuttal by the proponents. Our first public hearing this afternoon is BZA 09-2021, Dave France, 2020 Northgate Commerce Park. Mr. Skinner, if you'll present the caption, please.
Before the Board of Zoning Appeals today is BZA 09-2021. The applicant, Dave France, is requesting a variance to allow more signage than permitted by the Unified Development Ordinance. The property is identified as Tax Map 2025-1A*1, parcel 304840-900. The address is 2020 Northgate Commerce Parkway, Suffolk, Virginia, Cypress Voting Borough. Zoning classification, heavy industrial, M2. When you act upon this request, you will be acting on a request to allow more signage than is permitted by the Unified Development Ordinance. Should the board decide in favor of approving this special exception, the 8 findings as listed in your package must be articulated as part of the motion. We will now have, the staff report by Jennifer Cobb, Zoning Administrator.
Good afternoon, board members. As previously stated, the applicant, Dave France of Kimley Horn, is requesting a variance from the Unified Development Ordinance, Article 7, Section 31-714M7, which is the sign standards to permit more than one freestanding sign. The property is identified as tax map and parcel 20*25*1A*1, located at 2020 Northgate Commerce Parkway, Suffolk, Virginia, Cypress Voting Bureau. Zoning classification M2, heavy industrial. This variance request was advertised in the Suffolk News Herald, and a notice was mailed to adjacent property owners in accordance to Section 15.2.2204 of the Code of Virginia. The sign was also posted on the property. The M2 zoning district allows premises with more than 100 feet of road frontage, 1 freestanding sign not to exceed 1 square foot for each 2 linear feet of road frontage, with a maximum of 100 square feet of sign area. Section 31-714M7 states industrial parks of more than 5 acres may have, in addition to the permitted freestanding sign, an on-site directory sign not to exceed 16 square feet in sign area. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow more than 1 freestanding sign and 1 on-site directory sign permitted by the UDO. They are proposing 3 freestanding signs and 1 on-site directory sign as shown on the exhibit shown on the screen. The freestanding signs will be located at each traffic entrance and the corners of the parcel. This parcel has approximately 2,000 feet of road frontage. The actual sign square footage will not exceed the 100 square feet in total sign area when just the words are calculated. Due to the uniqueness of the size of this industrial facility and the proposed revamping of the current side regulations, staff recommends approval of this request to allow 3 on-site freestanding signs and 1 on-site directory sign. And here are some of the elevations of what they are proposing. They will all match. I'm available for any questions that you guys may have.
Thank you, Ms. Cobb. Are there any questions to Ms. Cobb at this time from the board members? Thank you. We will now open this public hearing. Who would like to speak on behalf of this application?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and the board. My name is Dave France with Kimley Horn & Associates. The address of my business is 4525 Main Street in Virginia Beach. It's my pleasure to be in front of you today, and I'll take a moment to just say thank you for your service on the board. I know that it takes a lot of time. I sit on boards myself, and it can be a challenge to find a time in your day, so thank you for doing it. We have a very unique project here. I hope that you've had a chance to drive by the site and see this thing. It is a very, very unique facility. We're talking about a 5-story warehouse that has nearly 4 million square feet of space inside of it. As Ms. Cobb pointed out, we have about 2,000 parking spaces on this site for associates. That's a lot of jobs, and it's a lot of people coming to and from the project. In addition to those employees, there are certainly trucks that need to come in and out and make it to the site to make deliveries and to fill that 4 million square feet with the products that we all like to be able to order and get delivered to our houses so quickly. And so there's certainly an element here of wanting to provide good quality signage to separate those uses and to guide the various modes of transportation to and from the site. I think one of the things that's important when we look at the reasonableness of granting a variance is, are we setting a precedent? Are we going down a slippery slope of allowing this here and being able to say that this is truly an unusual enough thing that it's not just going to become something that you see coming in every day in every request. And I think that with this project, it is truly unique. The company is building these certainly across the nation, but you won't see another one of these in Chesapeake, or certainly not another one in Suffolk. The size and scale of these things is such that they're quite spread out across the country, and we are working on them across the country. The monument signs that we're proposing at these entrances, you can see on screen there, they're of a very high quality. And part of it is, if you think about the investment that they're making in our community here, if we don't put in these monument signs, what we're allowed to put in are basically traffic directional signs that'll be on steel U-channels and white and black metal sign panels at these entrances. And I would offer to you that I think that the amount of investment here, in addition to just the safety and free movement of people in and out, certainly deserves some consideration to putting something out here that looks professional, that looks maybe not grand, but certainly appropriate for the scale of the building and for the scale of the investment in our community. So I think I'll leave it at that, and I certainly am here to answer questions should you have any. And I would ask that you support this request. And I thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Mr. France. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on behalf of this application? If not, is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? If not, Mr. France, would you like to make any additional comments on behalf of this request?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now close this public hearing, and I turn to the board members for questions, comments, or a motion.
Chairman, I would make a motion to approve this application due to the uniqueness of the situation and based on 8 findings that are found within our application.
Motion for approval by Board Member Venerable.
Second.
By Board Member Jackson. Motion and second for approval. Discussion of the motion. Mr. Skinner, call for the vote, please.
Richard Eslick,
Yes.
Peter C. Jackson,
Yes.
Daniel Froman, Melissa Venable,
Yes.
Howard Benton.
Yes.
The motion passed.
Congratulations. And let me also amplify that the citizens of the city of Suffolk are very grateful for your company and what they have brought to our city. They have brought something that is asset to the city in sense of the tax base that it brings for the real estate, as well as for the employment opportunities. I think really I could almost say you put Suffolk on the map one more time. Thank you for what you and your company are doing.
Thank you very much.
Our second public hearing this afternoon is BZA 10-1021, Martin Speroni, 122 South 5th Street. Mr. Skinner, if you'll present the caption, please.
Before the Board of Zoning Appeals today is BZA 10-2021. The applicant is Martin Speroni, is requesting a variance to reduce the required dimensional standards for lots in the RM zoning district. The property is identified as tax map 35G, double parentheses N, C star 28 star 29, and parcel 0507310000. Address is 122 South 5th Street, Suffolk, Virginia, Whaleyville Voting Borough. Zoning classification, residential medium density, RM. When you act upon this request, you will be acting on a request to reduce the required dimensional standards for lots in the RM zoning district. Should the board decide in favor of approving this special exception, the 8 findings as listed in your package must be articulated as part of the motion. We will now have staff report by Jennifer Cobb, zoning administrator.
As previously mentioned, the applicant, Martin Speroni, is requesting a variance from the Unified Development Ordinance, Article 4, Section 31407C, Dimensional Standards, Table 407-1. The property is identified as tax map and parcel 35G NC *28 *29, located at 122 South 5th Street, Suffolk, Virginia, Whaleyville Voting Borough, zoning classification RM, residential medium density. The variance request was advertised in the Suffolk News Herald, and a notice was mailed to the adjacent property owners in accordance with Section 15-2204 of the Code of Virginia. A sign was also posted on the property. The applicant is requesting a variance to the dimensional standards, Section 31407C, Table 407-1, regarding lot width, lot size, and road frontage. The residential medium zoning district requires newly created lots to meet the minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet, a minimum lot width of 80 feet at the setback line, and a minimum of 60 feet of public road frontage. This requirement applies to both the residue parcel and any newly created parcel. The existing parcel is 80 feet wide, which is the minimum lot width for the zoning district. The applicant is proposing to subdivide this parcel, creating 2 40-foot wide lots with 4,400 square feet in lot area. The City of Suffolk requires a minimum of a 20-foot wide house with 10-foot side yard setbacks for any new dwelling in the zoning district. This request for a variance, if approved, would result in 2 non-conforming lots. Therefore, staff does not recommend approval of this request. This is what they are proposing with the minor subdivision in the middle with the property line, and they also provided some elevations of what they are intending to build. I'm available for any questions you guys may have. They also had a couple of pictures they wanted me to pass.
Ms. Cobb, I might ask, that's the property with the anchor fence around it on Fifth Street, is that correct?
I'm not 100% sure on that one.
Went by there, and I don't remember seeing a sign, a blue sign. It doesn't mean it wasn't there, it just means I didn't see it.
Sign was posted on the property. This picture was taken there. I don't know if it's still currently there. It was when we put the staff report together.
I'm not saying it's not there, it's just that
There was, I went by and there was a sign.
there was a sign.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you for that.
These pictures are highlighted on 4th Street and not 5th Street. I'm not,
These are pictures that Mr. Speroni provided just now. Sorry, I apologize for that.
Any questions from the board members to Ms. Cobb while she's at the podium? Thank you, Ms. Cobb. We will now open the public hearing. Who would like to speak on behalf of this application?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. My name is Martin Speroni. I work at Saunders and Ojeda, 705 West Washington Street. My client is an LLC called 124 LLC. His principal is here present. They bought a lot that is about double the size of all the lots around it. And what they want to do is divide it just as it is, so it would match all the lots around it. And then they want to build new housing on it. They have done this before in other parts of the community, and some of the houses that we have shown is samples of what you expect to see there. I looked into the history of this lot, and back in 2013, this single lot that I'm proposing be divided was actually two lots. It was lots 28 and 29. And they were sold as such. We found a deed of 1924, where lot 9 was, did I just say 1913 or 2013? It was 1913 when this was platted, and it was platted all on lots the same size. They are the same size as what we asked they be divided at now. At some point, it appears that the city fused two of those lots. I tried to look into what that fusing was. All I was able to find was a reference in a 1996 record that said that lot 28 was added, just added to lot 29. And from then on, they were considered a single lot. Now, even in the description today, even in the last description that we have on meets and bounds, it talks about two different lots, first and second, and refers to lot 28 and lot 29. So we don't know how they were fused, but obviously the record is not voluminous on that, quite the contrary. My client buys the property, and as Ms. Cobb has said, it did not meet the dimensional standards, and therefore we're asking for this variance. The reason we're asking for this is because this creates a hardship for our client. They buy the lot thinking that they can divide it and build, and it appears that in this case the dimensional standards are different. However, this hardship would only affect them. They are not affecting any other properties around them. It doesn't affect the neighbors. I must admit that in the application, I made a typographical error. I'm sorry about that. But in page 8, Roman numeral 2, I said that granting the subdivision of the property would be to the detriment of the adjacent properties. Obviously, I missed the word not. Anybody that reads it in context understand that it didn't mean that. But it should say, would not be to the detriment of the adjacent properties. In fact, all the adjacent properties have the same dimensional standards that we are asking about. The zoning, what I'm asking does not require rezoning. We are exactly in the right place. And if I may, what we're trying to do is in line with Ordinance 31-403 that encouraged greater density of single-family homes in this particular lot. And with that, I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speroni. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on behalf of this application? If not, is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? If there is no one who would like to speak in opposition, Mr. Speroni, would you like to make any additional comments?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We will now close this public hearing. I turn to the board members for questions, comments, or a motion.
I have a question, Mr. Speroni. Your clients have purchased the lot, is that correct?
That is correct.
And before the purchase, why didn't they make an effort to find out what they could do as far as subdividing? Why are they here now as opposed to not coming before some board or the zoning department prior to the purchase?
My client comes here in good faith. They were told that this could be done easily, and it turns out that it was not because the rules have changed.
Well, who told them?
That question we can ask the applicant, the owner himself, if I may.
Yeah.
So, Lee Cross, I'm the owner of 124 LLC. The lot size of these two lots are, and we didn't show the original plat that platted it, but they're the exact same size of all the other lots up and down the street. And as Martin said earlier, these two lots were combined at some point previously in the 90s for reasons that we don't understand. So at that point, they match all the other lots up and down the street. So
Well, Mr. Speroni said that you were told, so that doesn't really answer my question.
Oh,
If
yes,
you were
so
to-
the person I bought it directly from advertised it as having 3 lots for sale. So there's also purchased the one next to that as well. That is a separate tax map that's not an issue. So, and I clearly did not do enough homework, obviously, since I'm here today, to make sure that was the case. When I pulled the tax records and the online stuff, it made sense to me what they were saying, and I went with it.
Thank you.
Just a minute, Mr. Cross.
Yes, sir.
All right, while he is at the podium, are there any other questions to the owner from the board members? Thank you, Mr. Cross. Back to the board members. Questions, comments, or a motion?
Well, I'd like to make a motion that the request be denied.
Motion for denial by Board Member Eslick. Do I hear a second? Motion for denial. Do I hear a second?
Second, Mr. Eslick's motion.
Second, Mr. Eslick's motion for denial. So we have a motion and a second from Board Member Venerable for denial. Discussion of the motion.
The lot is currently a non-conforming lot. If the size of the plat was a bit larger, it would make some sense, but creating two 4,500 square foot lots and creating some potential traffic issues, I have a very hard time moving forward with this. It's pretty clear in the ordinance that once you purchase a piece of property like that, it would be very difficult to subdivide.
I'd like to ask Ms. Cobb a question. Ms. Cobb, if by circumstances the applicant was allowed to divide these lots, how would that affect, and it may be in your notes here, the setbacks of those houses from the boundary line?
They may potentially have to go forward for another variance to be able to build. The only thing they could do would be a 20-foot wide house, because at 40 feet wide, which is what they're proposing, they would 10 feet on either side, so they would only be allowed to do a 20-foot wide house and then 10 foot on either side for their setbacks. So we may be coming before the board for these two lots, say they need an adjustment for the setbacks. So, I mean, we're potentially setting it up for possible variances in the future.
They would have to come back before this body for
If they
each
need-
of those lots.
If they are proposing more than a 20-foot wide house, yes.
Okay,
So I don't know what the plans are here. I don't know if that's more than a 20-foot wide house, or is that 20 feet?
If I may speak?
yeah, let him come forward if he will. Mr. Cross, did you have something to
Yeah,
add to this question?
I was just going to say, as part of it, I'm happy to proffer that I will not come back for another building variance. It's a 20-foot wide house.
Okay.
So that it fits, and it
But that would just fit.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cross. All right, Ms. Cobb, just a moment now. All right, so with my question and what you've said, now the motion is opposed, but if he were granted permission, with what he said, he would not have to come back before this body.
That is correct.
Now, if the motion is approved as it is at this point, is it conceivable that he could build a duplex on the existing lot?
I have to check the table. I'm not sure that a duplex is permitted in the RM zoning district. I can answer that in just a
I
second.
think most of those houses are single-family.
I believe so, yes. Duplex is not permitted over there.
All right, so the choice is, if the motion of denial is approved, he can put the one house on there.
Correct.
If the motion for denial fails, then he could put the two houses and, by his own acknowledgement, not come back before this body for a variance.
We would have to, I guess, put some stipulation in the approval.
Wouldn't we have to vote for approval if the motion for denial fails?
Yes.
There's your answer to that. All right, thank you, Ms. Cobb. All right, we have a motion and a second for denial. Discussion of the motion.
I might just add lastly that I don't see a hardship here, and we do need to be recognizing a hardship with a special exception.
Skinner, call for the vote, please.
This is for denial. Richard Eslick,
Yes.
Peter C. Jackson,
Yes.
Melissa Venable,
Yes.
Howard C. Benton.
Yes.
The motion passes for denial.
Now, Mr. Skinner, I'm turning to you. Anytime an applicant has a denial, they have a means of appeal, is that
Yes, sir.
correct? And that means of appeal would take them back to Ms. Cobb, is that correct?
She talked to them, and then she would actually give them the instructions on what they need to do in order to appeal to the court system.
Thank you for that. I'm just trying to articulate the situation for that. All right, thank you for that. Now, our next public hearing this afternoon is BZA 11, 2021, Matt Benson, 101 C Hero Court. Mr. Skinner, if you'll present the information, please.
Before the Board of Zoning Appeals today is BZA 11, 2021. The applicant, Matt Benson, is requesting a variance to require the residential architectural design features to permit a front-loading garage. The property is identified as tax map 19Q star 72, and the parcel is 3060-04423. The address is 101 Sea Hero, Sleepy Hole Voting Borough, zoning classification, residential low medium density. When you act upon this request, you will be acting on a request for the residential architectural design features to permit a front-loading garage. Should the board decide in favor of approving this special exception, the 8 findings as listed in your package must be articulated as part of the motion. We will now have the staff report by Jennifer Cobb, zoning administrator.
As previously stated, the applicant, Matt Benson, is requesting a variance from the Unified Development Ordinance, Article 4, Section 31411-10C4, Residential Architectural Design Features. The property is identified as tax map and parcel 19Q*72, located at 101 C Hero Court, Suffolk, Virginia, Sleeping Hole Voting Borough, zoning classification RLM, residential low medium. This variance request was advertised in the Suffolk News Herald, and a notice was mailed to adjacent property owners in accordance with Section 15.2.2204 of the Code of Virginia, and a sign was also posted on the property. The applicant is requesting a variance to the Residential Architectural Design Features, Article 4, Section 31411-10C4, which states corner lots shall have side-loading entry garages. The applicant is asking for a front-loading garage on a corner lot to allow the new buyer to have more side and rear yard. With the side-loading garage requirement, the home must be pushed up to the far right corner shown on the building envelope, which is shown on this diagram, which would limit the amount of usable space on the lot and not allow any open space for any future additions. This is what they are proposing with the front-loading garage, which allows them more side corner and rear space. Therefore, staff recommends approval of this request to allow a front-loading garage on a corner lot in this clustered development. And I'm available for any questions the board may have.
Are there any questions to Ms. Cobb while she's at the podium? Thank you, Ms. Cobb. We will now open the public hearing. Who would like to speak on behalf of this application?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, the members of the board. Thank you for your time. My name is Matt Benson. I'm with Etheridge Construction. We are one of the builders here in this development. As you've seen, we have a contract written for this lot, and the buyer has hand-selected this particular home, our Franklin model. You can see the side load entry that we have plotted to demonstrate the difficulties that would ensue in building this, and also show you how the quality of life for this homeowner would be affected if they are required to build this as a side load entry. The side yard and the backyard would be greatly affected. So we're requesting the front load entry garage on the right side as a way to give this buyer the best possible yard to make it coincide with the other homes next door to it. All or most of the other homes in this neighborhood are indeed front load garage. And we also want to make considerations for the safety of pedestrian traffic. You'll notice the handicap ramps and wipe downs on either side, on either street there, are really what are preventing us from putting a driveway where we would like to place it. So we believe that if we can build it as a front load entry on the right side, the driveway will have less of an impact on the foot traffic, the handicap accessibility of pedestrians that are traveling through the neighborhood. So that's the second consideration that we're making here in building this as a front load right side garage. So we hope that this is acceptable. We thank you for your time again. I'm certainly welcome to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Benson. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on behalf of this application? If not, is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? If not, Mr. Benson, would you like to make any additional comments?
No, thank you.
We will now close this public hearing. I turn to the board members for questions, comments, or motion.
I'll move that we approve the request.
Motion for approval from Board Member Eslick. Do I hear a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second from Board Member Venerable. Motion and second for approval. Discussion of the motion.
I've looked at this fairly closely, understanding the handicap ramps and really trying to figure out a good way to create a side load situation here, and there really isn't, from what I can tell. I think being that this is a special exception and the remainder of the neighborhood would be side load as per the requirements, I think in this particular instance, it's probably a very good idea to, one, shorten the driveway length, and two, create a safer, more palatable situation for the neighborhood and for any of the pedestrians on this corner. So that would be why I would support this application.
In addition to that, under the circumstances, staff recommends approval.
Yes, absolutely.
Motion and second for approval. Discussion of the motion. Mr. Skinner, call for the vote, please.
Richard Eslick,
Yes.
Peter C. Jackson,
No.
Melissa Venable,
Yes.
Howard C. Benton.
Yes.
The motion is approved.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That concludes our public hearings this afternoon. I'm not aware of any new business. Are there any other matters that should come to us from the board members or staff? If not, thank you for your attendance and participation this afternoon. We are now adjourned.